Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great-Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Harold Peary stars in an episode of The Great-Gildersleeve. This goes back 76 years to October 2nd, 1946, as Leila's wedding invitations are hitting Summerfield. Thank you for tuning in on this Sunday, 2nd day of October, 275th day of the year, 90 days remaining until we get to 2023. It was on this date that George Washington transmitted the proposed constitutional amendments, the Bill of Rights, to the states for ratification in 1789. Texas Revolution began in 1835 with the Battle of Gonzales. Mexican soldiers attempting to disarm the people of Gonzales, Texas, they encountered stiff resistance from a hastily assembled militia. In Colorado on this date in 1889, Nicholas Creedy struck it rich in silver during the last great silver boom of the American West. President Woodrow Wilson suffered a massive stroke on this date in 1919 that left him partially paralyzed. The Geneva Protocol, a treaty prohibiting the use of chemical and biological weapons in international armed conflicts, adopted on this date in 1924 as a means to strengthen the League of Nations. It was on this date in 1950 that the comic strip Peanuts by Charles M. Schulz was first published. On this date in 1959, The Twilight Zone premiered. It ran for 4.5 seasons, 4 full seasons of half-hour shows, a half season of hour-long shows, 156 episodes, a 1983 feature film, 2 revival series in 1985 and 2002. Serling also creating the 1969 Night Gallery series, and a radio series, 0 Hour, a 1-season attempt to bring back classic radio. Thurgood Marshall sworn in as the first African-American Justice of the Supreme Court in 1967. A plane carrying the Wichita State University football team, administrators, and supporters crashed in Colorado, killing 31 people in 1970. In 1984, President Reagan accepted responsibility for the deaths of 24 people, including 2 Americans, in the September 20th suicide car bombing targeting the U.S. Embassy in Beirut.
I am responsible, as I said that I was on the previous tragedy. I was responsible and no one else for our policy and our people being there.
The Islamic Jihad organization claimed responsibility for the attack in a telephone call a few hours after the explosion. The Electronic Freedom of Information Act amendment signed on this date in 1996 by former U.S. President Bill Clinton. And it was on this date in 2002 the Beltway sniper attacks began. They extended over 3 weeks. And in 2006, 5 schoolgirls murdered by Charles Carl Roberts in a shooting at an Amish school in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, before Roberts committed suicide. Among those passing away on this date in history, Harriet Hilliard Nelson of Ozzie and Harriet fame, singer, actor, entrepreneur Gene Autry, comedian Nipsey Russell, singer-songwriter Tom Petty, and Rock Hudson.
I am not happy that I am sick. I'm not happy that I have AIDS. But if that is helping others, I can at least know that my own misfortune has had some positive work.
Hudson's last words read by his friend actor Burt Lancaster at an AIDS benefit just 10 days earlier. Hudson, too ill to attend. Among those people born on this date in history include Groucho Marx.
What relation to the artist was Whistler's mother?
Whistler?
Mother! I'm sorry, the answer is Grant's tomb.
I'm going to tell you of that great, mysterious, wonderful continent known as Africa. The first day I shot 2 bucks. That was the biggest game we had. The elks, on the other hand, live up in the hills. And in the spring, they come down for their annual convention. It is very interesting to watch them come to the water hole. And you should see them run when they find it is only a water hole. What they're looking for is an alcohol. One morning, I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got in my pajamas, I don't know.
We need people as funny as Groucho Marx today. Groucho Marx, born on this date in history, as was Spanky McFarland of the Spanky and Our Gang comedies. Also, Johnny Cochran, Yokozuna in the WWE, Rodney Anoa'i, and Bud Abbott of Abbott and Costello fame. Born on this day, turning 84 years old today, is movie critic, actor Rex Reed. The man behind the song American Pie, Don McLean, is 77. Hawk in Spencer for Hire, Cisco on Star Trek The Next Generation, Avery Brooks, 74. The musician Sting is 71, who tells how he got his name.
Why am I called Sting? It goes very well with my personality. I'm caustic. I'm not terribly sociable or friendly. However, it's not a name that I gave myself. It's a name that was given to me. I was christened it in a group. I was in a Dixieland jazz group. And I used to wear a stripy jumper. You don't call them jumpers, you call them pullovers. And I looked like a wasp. It was black and yellow. And the trombone player decided to call me Sting, and the name stuck. And it went so well with my personality that everybody calls me Sting. My mother calls me Sting. My 4-year-old son calls me Sting. My wife calls me Sting. My lawyer calls me Sting. I have a bank account with the name Sting on it.
The musician Sting turned 71 years old today. You Are My Lady, Freddie Jackson, 66 years old. Robbie Neville, C'est la vie, 64 years old today. Kelly Ripa, 52. Tiffany, I Think I'm Alone Now, 51 years old. The lady who sang with the group Aqua, I'm a Barbie Girl, Lenny Nystrom, 49. From Saving Face, Michelle Kruchek is 48. From General Hospital, Brianna Brown is 43. And from the film version of the musical Les Miserables, Samantha Barks, 32. Those just a few of the people celebrating the second day of October as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
76 years ago, October 2nd, 1946, Harold Peary, the Great-Gildersleeve, on this Sunday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. The Great-Gildersleeve was originally a character on Fibber McGee and Molly. He was a next-door neighbor to the McGees and owned Gildersleeve's Girdle Works. Well, in 1941, Gildersleeve moved from Wistful Vista to Summerfield to take care of his orphaned niece and nephew, Leroy and Marjorie. And therefore, he became the Great Gildersleeve and the Water Commissioner of Summerfield. So there you go. October 2nd, 1946, Harold Peary, the Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
The Kraft Foods Company presents The Great Gildersleeve. It's The Great Gildersleeve, starring Harold Peary, brought to you by the Kraft Foods Company, makers of Parquet margarine and a complete line of famous quality food products. Now let's see what's been happening to Gildersleeve.
Well, it's plenty. Into the quiet town of Summerfield via the U.S. mail, a bomb has dropped. Everyone who is anyone in Summerfield has received this morning a creamy white envelope, roughly 4 by 6, with a postmark of Savannah, Georgia. No bargain offer, this. Eagerly, we pry open the flap, taking care not to cut our fingers, so fine and crisp the stationery. Inside, a second envelope with our name inscribed upon it, nothing else. We pause a moment to admire the penmanship and dive inside again. A wisp of tissue paper flutters to the floor. We rub our thumb across the engraving. Our eyes focus, and behold.
Mr. and Mrs. Tupper Hathaway request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their niece, Leila Barrington Ransom, to Dr. Julian Henry Culpepper on October 9th, 1946, at 4:30, Church of the Rebellion, Savannah, Georgia.
Yes, the whole town's talking about it. Long before breakfast, the neighbor's cook, Lily B., came hot-footing it across the street and around to the kitchen door with the news. So, though the invitation lies unopened beside Gildersleeve's plate at breakfast, Birdie knows full well what's in it, and she's briefed the children accordingly.
Now, remember what I told you, Leroy. Be nice to him.
I always am.
Well, a little nicer than that. You got to realize, Leroy, this is liable to be kind of hard on your uncle, Mrs. Ransom, getting married like that.
Why? She isn't marrying him. Well, Leroy, have you no feelings? Sure.
On second thought, I think I'll just shove the invitation out of sight here under his butter plate.
Shh, here he comes.
Now, just act like nothing happened. Remember now, like nothing happened.
Good morning. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. I said good morning.
Morning, Mr. Gildersleeve. I'll go get your breakfast right away.
Marjorie?
Good morning, Unky.
Leroy, no word of greeting for your uncle?
Hi.
Well. What are you two staring at?
Leroy, will you pass the sugar? Sugar? Yeah, sure. There you are, Marge. Sugar. Excuse me for not passing it before. I didn't notice you didn't have it.
Oh, that's all right.
Some salt? You got salt there?
Yes, I've had the salt things. I just wanted the sugar for my cocoa.
Marmalade. You want some marmalade?
Oh, I have some. I have plenty. Oh, but thank you just the same.
Oh, that's all right. Anything you want, just ask for it.
Extraordinary. No mail come this morning?
There, you want the salt, you say, Marge?
She just had the salt. What's going on here? Bertie, did no mail come this morning?
What'd you say?
I asked if there wasn't any mail this morning.
No, sir, that is hardly any. Just the one thing there.
What thing?
Whatever it is.
Well, where? Where is it?
Under the butter plate.
Under a fine plate.
I better run out in the kitchen and see if anything's burning.
What's the matter with her? Savannah, Georgia. I'll have the sugar now, Leroy, if you feel you can spare it.
Aren't you going to open it?
Leroy.
Later. Just a wedding invitation from Mrs. Ransom. How about that sugar? What's the matter with you?
Boy, is Bertie full of baloney.
Well, when did you find out, Unky?
Find out what?
About Mrs. Ransom.
Getting married? Oh, I've known about that for a long time. She told me last night. She said she wanted me to be the first to know.
And you don't mind?
No, that was all over years ago. Leila's a fine girl. I wish her every happiness. But as far as I'm concerned, Bertie, what's keeping you out there?
Mr. Gildersleeve, did you...
Uncle Mort's ready, Bertie. You can take his plate. Oh, and incidentally, he knows all about everything, so you don't need to worry.
Yeah, don't worry about me.
Mr. Gildersleeve, it ain't none of my business, of course, but I just want you to know I just want you to know, that's all. See, I made you some nice milk toast this morning.
Milk toast? What for?
Well, I knew you wouldn't probably be feeling so good, and there ain't nothing sits easy on the stomach in time of trouble than milk toast.
I can't stand milk toast, Bertie. What do I want with milk toast anyway? I feel fine. Doorbell.
I'll go.
Let Bertie.
I'll get it.
Yes.
Oh, good morning, Judge. Come in.
I won't stay but a very few minutes, Bertie. Mr. Gildersleeve, I won't stay but a few minutes.
He's right in the dining room there.
Well, hello, Judge.
Gildy, old man.
What are we shaking hands for?
Oh, good morning, Judge.
Hi.
Marjorie, Leroy, I wonder if I could have a word with your uncle in private. Just for a moment.
Certainly. We gotta go to school anyway. Come on, Marge.
What's up, Judge?
Gildy, old man, anything I can do, anything at all. You know that, old man. Just call on me.
Call on you for what?
Anything. Are you planning to go to the office today?
Certainly.
Good. Work is the best medicine, they say. I'd offer to drive you down, but I think the walk would do you good.
Yeah.
The important thing is not to let this prey on your mind. I know how you feel, old man. I don't want you to think that
I feel fine.
That's the stuff. Try to keep that up. It's the only way to hold on to yourself. Chin up. Never admit for a minute even to yourself.
Listen, you've got me all wrong, Horace. I feel fine.
Bully for you. Keep telling yourself that.
Oh, listen, you old goat. I feel fine. You understand? I feel fine. I'm fine. Hello, Peavy.
Mr. Gildersleeve. Well, I didn't think we'd be seeing you today.
I don't know why not. I'm in here all the time. I guess I might as well take some cigars as long as I'm here. Peavy, I'd like some cigars.
Mr. Gildersleeve, well, there are some things that are very hard for a man to say, but we'd like you to know, Mrs. Peavy and I, that we'd like you to come to dinner.
Well, that's very nice. I'd be delighted to come.
I'm an older man than you are, Mr. Gildersleeve, and I've had my share of disappointments, too. I'd just like to say that I know how you feel.
What's the matter with everybody? I feel fine. You hear that, Peavy? I feel fine. Good morning, Bessie.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yes?
Oh, I don't know what to say, but...
Don't say it. Bessie?
Yes, sir?
What are these?
What, sir?
On my desk here.
They're roses.
Get them out of here. I'm sorry, Bessie, but I can't stand all this sympathy. Ye gods, a man has no private life of his own in this town. You try to wind up something quietly, and the next morning everybody's looking at you. Everybody butting in and telling you they know how you feel. Don't you try to tell me how I feel. I feel fine. I'm very happy about the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
Good. Somebody came in. See who it is.
Yoo-hoo! Anybody here?
Leila, now what the...
Good morning, Bessie. Is Mr. Gildersleeve in?
Just a minute. I'll ask him.
Oh, well, don't bother. He'll see me. Throckmorton, you poor darling. How are you?
Fine and dandy, Leila. Never better.
Oh, I'm glad to see you taking it this way. I knew you would. You have so much character. I'm afraid I've come to ask a favor of you, Throckmorton. Aren't I terrible?
A favor at 9 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, gracious, I've been up for hours. I'm trying to get everything packed for when I go home for the wedding. And do you know something awful? I can't get half my things into my trunks.
Maybe you'd better just give up the whole idea.
Oh, silly. I wondered if you'd mind too terribly much just expressing a few things for me.
No, of course not.
The only thing is I haven't anything to pack them in. You'd have to get some crates or something. But you wouldn't mind?
No.
Oh, it would only take you a couple of evenings, probably. I'll give you a key in case I'm not there myself.
All right, a couple of evenings?
Well, there's quite a lot of it. I think it's terribly generous of you to offer to do it, Throckmorton. I can't tell you how grateful I am. I know Julian Henry will be grateful, too.
Julian Henry.
You know, I think you're just a little bit jealous of Julian Henry.
I wish you every happiness, Leila.
Oh, come on now. Fess up. Aren't you just a little teensy bit jealous?
Nope.
Will you miss me just a little when I'm gone?
I have a very busy winter ahead, Leila. I have lots of plans. Lots of plans.
You poor darling. Well, I've got to go shopping, to do hairdresser, a million things. Oh, I almost forgot.
What?
Hand me my handbag over there, will you? I was cleaning out some old trash this morning, and I came across these.
What?
Well, don't tell me you don't recognize your own handwriting. They're your letters, silly. Love letters.
You've kept them all these years? What for?
Oh, 'cause they were so sweet. But I thought it was only fair to let you have them back now that they don't mean anything anymore. Besides, I wouldn't want Julian Henry finding them, would I?
Wait, don't you want the ribbon?
I'll leave you that to remember me by. Bye now.
Wow. What a cold woman. October 2nd, 1946, Harold Peary, the Great Gildersleeve, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday with us. We'll have the news from 76 years ago today coming up in just a few moments, along with the conclusion of the Great Gildersleeve. Hang on. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of The Great Gildersleeve starring Harold Peary, as it was broadcast on Wednesday, October 2nd, 1946, and in the newspapers of that Sunday. 76 years ago, these were some of the headlines. An early end of the second nationwide shipping strike in a month forecast by Conciliation Director Edgar L. Warren, who summoned all disputants to an afternoon conference in Washington to try to drive home a settlement. The Conciliation chief said a continuous meeting would start at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and that he saw no need for further adjournments of the negotiations. A commission official said he saw reasonable hope for early settlement. The Army took wraps off its revised plan for universal military training today as Secretary of War Patterson asked the American Legion at San Francisco for active backing. The proposal bore only the War Department's official approval, but about 3 of every 10 men trained would be for the Navy. Hence, officials of the Sea Arm forecast Navy support for the measure before Congress. The Legion earlier this year sponsored a plan similar in outline. Lawyers for the 11 condemned German war criminals disclosed today they plan to appeal to the Allied Control Council to change the death sentences from hanging to shooting if all other pleas for clemency failed. The last court of resort for Hermann Goering, Joachim von Ribbentrop, and the others from the ignominy of the hangman's rope was formed of the 4 Allied generals sitting in Berlin as occupation authorities for the 4 zones of Germany. A 12th German, Martin Bormann, was sentenced in absentia to be hanged. The administration was reportedly casting about today for some means of easing the meat shortage, but no ready solutions appeared in sight. Aides of top policy-making officials told reporters they thought there was little chance the government would take either of the 2 steps which Agriculture Department meat authorities described as the only apparent ones for increasing supplies. One was easing controls and raising prices in order to encourage marketing of cattle and hogs, or government requisition of meat animals from farms. A third possible step was suggested earlier this week by Secretary of Agriculture Clinton P. Anderson. He said the government might find it necessary to seize livestock arriving in markets. The shortage of paper products, such as toilet tissues, is expected to last for some months, that according to Director Fred C. Holder of the Office of Price Administration's Industrial Price Division. Holder told the House Interstate Commerce Committee that paper products are being turned out at record-breaking levels, but demand is higher than ever. 2 French organizations today addressed a joint statement to the Secretary General of the United Nations protesting the acquittal of Hjalmar Schenk, Hans Fricke, and Franz von Papen by the War Crimes Tribunal. One was the Association of Former Prisoners and Deportees. The other was the Union Against Racism. The White House reported today that President Truman is still without plans to speak in connection with the November congressional elections. The committees of the First Inter-American Radio Congress studied today a plan for an organization of radio broadcasters, manufacturers, and listeners that would campaign for freedom of the airwaves. Acting jointly, the Army and Navy today authorized all armed services personnel in the Western Hemisphere and in the U.S. possessions to wear civilian clothing when off-duty. Izvestia said today the Nuremberg judges showed surprising softness to 4 master criminals in letting Rudolf Hess off with a life sentence and acquitting Hjalmar Schenk, Franz von Papen, and Hans Fricke. All those who think justice must be firm and consistent cannot agree with that part of the sentence of the International Military Tribunal, according to Izvestia. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Wednesday, October 2nd, 1946. On your radio, The Great Gildersleeve, which continues now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Love letters. What a fool I was. Well, I know what to do with them. Oop, wait a minute. Maybe I ought to burn those if I remember it correctly. I wouldn't want Bessie. Not that she would. Smell nice. Sachet, I guess. She must have had them among her things. Gosh, that was 4 years ago. Let's see. My dear, darling, beloved Leila. I didn't sleep a wink all last night. All night long I lay awake thinking of you. Once I got up and went to my open window where the moon was shining in. And as I stood there gazing up at it, I thought to myself, that same moon is shining down upon my darling Leila, clear across the vacant lot there. I looked across and I could see your house and your own dear bedroom window. It was open a little. It made me wish that I were a little moonbeam and could steal in and nestle softly on the pillow beside your cheek. Oh, Leila, I love you so. I think if the day ever comes when we're no longer... Confound it! When I got up this morning, I felt perfectly all right.
Can Gildersleeve bear up? We'll find out in a few moments.
Harold Peary, the Great Gildersleeve, from 76 years ago. October 2nd, 1946. The conclusion when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues in a moment. On Monday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Mandel Kramer. No, not as Johnny Dollar, not as Harry Peters and Counter Spy, but in an episode of X-1, Protective Mimicry. From 66 years ago, October 3rd, 1956, a Treasury agent assigned to track down the source of impossibly perfect credit notes. Maybe this was a foreshadowing of Kramer being Johnny Dollar. We'll hear that tomorrow here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And don't forget, if you miss a day, you can always hear him at classicradio.stream. Now the conclusion of The Great Gildersleeve, starring Harold Peary, October 2nd, 1946.
Let's get back to the great Gildersleeve, who is now thoroughly convinced his heart is broken. What to do? He finally decides he'll put on a brave face and seek the consolation of masculine companionship at the Jolly Boys Club. Let's peep into the club now where, though Gildersleeve has not arrived, he is the subject of conversation.
Poor old Gildersleeve. He's been fooling around with that woman for a long time.
4 or 5 years at least. Think of all the dough he must have spent on her.
Floyd, must you be crass?
Crass? What the heck is that? Well, figure it out for yourself. A picture show here, a meal there, mounts up in a few years. Where does it get him? First guy that comes along with a half-a-carat diamond, Gildersleeve gets the pink slip.
Oh, it doesn't seem right. How's he taking it? Anybody seen him?
Well, I ain't seen him, but I'll give 8 to 5. Gildersleeve ain't losing any sleep over it. He'll have to make some new arrangements, that's all.
I happen to disagree with you, Floyd. I think he's taking this thing pretty hard. Have you seen him, Peavy?
Yes, I saw him.
Well, what did you think?
I don't think he liked it.
In my opinion, it's a real blow to him. A real blow.
Poor old Gildersleeve. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yes, sir. That's the way it goes.
Yes, sir.
Well, for crying out loud, we don't have to act like a funeral. Let's get a card game going here or something. Come on, Peavy.
Well, I might play for a few minutes just to see how the cards are running.
Last time you said that, you took away $6.50. Hey, I think I hear somebody coming.
Sounds like Gildersleeve. I never thought he'd feel up to this.
Let's be real nice to him. A fellow jolly boy that's had a tough break.
Yeah. Well, jolly boys. Chief Gates, as I live and breathe. Did you catch a lot of crooks today?
How are you, Commissioner?
And Judge Hooker, the old spirit of habeas corpus.
Hi, Gildy.
And Floyd, the tonsorial artist. And Peavy, the merry pharmacist. Greetings, one and all.
Hi, Commissioner.
You seem to be in good spirits, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yeah, why shouldn't I be?
That's what I told him, Commissioner.
Shut up, Floyd.
Why? What's the matter? Mr. Gildersleeve, the boys were telling me you were down in the mouth about your girlfriend dumping you.
I don't care for the way you put it.
I mean about Mrs. Ransom getting married. Anyway, I stuck up for you. I said you'd roll with the punch and come up smiling.
That's right, Floyd. That's me. Often a bridesmaid, but never a bride. But I can take it. What do I care?
That's a spirit.
No, sir. Leila is a fine girl. I wish her every happiness.
I think you're being very generous, Gildy.
Yes, I guess I am.
Fellas, I have a suggestion. Listen, we all know Mrs. Ransom. She's been on a lot of outings at the Jolly Boys Club.
Now, what about it?
I was thinking it'd be a real nice gesture if the club would all chip in and buy her a wedding present. That is, if Mr. Gildersleeve has no objection.
Oh, no. A nice gesture, Chief, as you say.
Then I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
I second it. What do you say, Peavy? Don't you agree this is a proper and friendly gesture for the Jolly Boys to make?
What kind of a present would it be?
We can think about that later. Are you in favor of the idea?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm against it.
Oh, you make me tired.
Now, Judge, let's not be impatient with friend Peavy. He just don't want to buy a pig in a poke, that's all. The way I look at it, Peavy, we should get her something substantial and at the same time reasonably priced.
What did you have in mind?
Well, say we was all to put in $2 apiece. That's $10. Get her a, well, let's see. Piece of tapestry makes a nice gift. Yeah, a piece of tapestry to hang on the wall. Then every time she looked at it, she'd think of the Jolly Boys back in Summerfield.
What will her husband think when he looks at it?
Oh, quit worrying, Peavy. Are you with us or not?
Well, go along at the rest, Will.
That's a boy.
Chief.
What is it, Commissioner? You got a different idea for the gift?
Oh, no. I think the tapestry is fine. Only, well, naturally, in my position, I'll be expected to give her a present myself. Something fairly substantial. So I'm afraid I won't be able to contribute to the club kitty.
Oh. Well, maybe we can get a tapestry for $8. It don't have to cover the entire wall. Okay, Judge?
Yeah.
Okay, Peavy? Okay, Floyd?
No, it ain't okay.
Well,
I don't see why we should buy her a present in the first place.
Well, why not?
Because she done a dirty trick to a fellow Jolly Boy, that's why.
Now, Floyd...
Horace, please. Floyd, I appreciate your sentiment. But as I said before, Leila is a fine girl. I wish her every happiness.
Well, that's all well and good, but just the same, she done you a...
She's found someone she loves. That's all that really matters.
It takes a real man to say a thing like that.
You're so right, Chief.
I mean it, fellas. If Leila can find happiness with this fellow, raise a family, perhaps, I'll not stand in her way.
Say, what about the card game we were starting here? Let's get going.
How about a song?
That's a better idea. A song.
Okay, come on, guys. Get around the piano. How about this one? Oh, the moonlight's fair tonight along the Wabash.
That's good.
Okay.
From the fields there comes a breath of new mown hay. Through the sycamores, the candle lights are beaming. Oh, Oh, that was great, fellas. Let's have another.
Oh, no, Floyd. Not that.
For heaven's sakes, Floyd.
No, Floyd. Go ahead and play that one. I want to sing it.
Okay, Commissioner.
I wonder who's kissing her now. I wonder who's teaching her now. I wonder who's looking into her eyes, breathing sighs, turning lies. I wonder who's buying the wine for lips that I used to call mine. I wonder if she ever thinks about
Commissioner, get him a Coke, somebody.
Get him a double Coke, Phoebe. Get us all a Coke while you're at it.
Never should have started that song.
I'm sorry, fellas. I didn't mean it.
That's perfectly okay, Commissioner. You're among friends.
Thanks.
And when a fellow gets a blow like you got...
She's a fine girl. I wish her every happiness.
I'd just like to say, Commissioner, I know how it is.
Oh, no, Chief. You're happily married.
Yes, I am, but there was a girl ahead of my wife. I thought I'd never get over it.
Yes.
I'd just as lief you didn't mention it to Hazel.
Oh, of course.
You want to play a little cards, Commissioner?
I don't know, Floyd.
Seeing you feel so lousy, the boys might make a special concession. We'd play bridge just for you. How about it?
Thanks, Floyd. I don't think I could keep my mind on it.
Just let him sit there and drink his Coke.
It's a hard, hard world.
Well, we're just going to sit around like this all night?
Now, Judge, drink your Coke and be quiet a minute. Feeling a little better, Mr. Gildersleeve?
I think the Coke is helping.
I might remind you fellows that Gildersleeve is not the only man around here who feels a sentimental pang at Mrs. Ransom's decision.
Quit trying to horn in on the sympathy.
Well, let's do something.
Yeah, let's.
Do what?
Yeah, what?
I don't know.
Boy, this is a dead town. When's Halloween?
I don't know. October, November.
Boy, we used to have some real fun on Halloween when I was a kid. Kids nowadays don't have the kind of fun we had.
Good thing, too. Halloween's a bad night for the police department.
I remember one trick we used to pull. We'd take and set somebody's garbage pail up on the railing of the porch. Kind of balance it there, see? Then tie a string on it and fasten the string to the doorknob and then ring the doorbell.
Yeah.
Garbage all over the place. We didn't do it. The guy done it himself when he opened the door.
That keeps it perfectly legal.
Fellas, let's go out and dump over somebody's garbage pail.
You joking, Mr. Gildersleeve?
No, I'm not. That's just what I feel like doing tonight. Come on, Floyd, are you game?
Well, I'm game if the rest are. How about it, Peeve? Come on, it'll take 10 years off of you.
Yeah, I'd be willing to watch.
Good old Peavy. Whose pail shall we dump over?
How about Judge Hooker? Oh, no, he's here.
I certainly am.
Well, who'll it be?
Fellas, how about Mrs. Ransom?
Commissioner.
Gildy, you really mean it?
Certainly, I mean it. After all, look what she did to me.
He's himself again.
The Great Gildersleeve is played by Harold Peary. It is written by John Whedon and Sam Moore. The music is by Jack Meakin. Included in the cast are Walter Tetley as Leroy, Lillian Randolph as Burley, and Shirley Mitchell as Leila Ransom. Judge Hooker is Earl Ross, and Dick LeGrand plays Mr. Peavy. This is John Lang saying goodnight for the Kraft Foods Company and inviting you to listen in again next Wednesday for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
76 years ago, October 2nd, 1946, The Great Gildersleeve on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand. You can learn more about classic radio collecting. You can contact me there. You can find information about the podcast sites that have our shows available for download, our social media links. And if you'd like to help us expand our collection of classic radio programs, you can buy me a coffee. That's greatly appreciated at classicradio.stream. Please thank this station and support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every Sunday at this time. And tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.